Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and here is your detailed weather forecast update for Wednesday, the 16th of July 2025. Multiple cold fronts still on the forecast across southern Australia, one of which has really caught my eye. We're expecting a big-time system to move into the Great Australian Bight by the end of next weekend, and that's going to go on to cause all sorts of problems across southwestern WA and also towards the southeast of the nation as well. Rainfall for Queensland, frost for Queensland. There's still plenty of weather to talk about. If you are brand new to the channel, please do consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. But let's get stuck straight into things today with our top story, which is this low pressure system being pushed forward by another stronger low pressure system towards the southwest here. That's bringing showers and rain band through southwest and western Australia this morning. Nothing severe is coming through, just a couple of drops of rainfall here and there. In fact, the Perth metro area is about to get some relatively healthy showers into the next 20 to 30 minutes or so, especially into the northern suburbs. But by the time this video comes out, it looks like the rainfall will have cleared out of the Perth metro area and will be on for a partly cloudy afternoon by the looks of things. There will still be a few showers behind this system here in its wake, but we're not expecting anything too crazy in the way of rainfall, just a further 5 to 10 millimeters throughout the Perth metro area, especially through the northern suburbs. Elsewhere, we're looking at just a couple more drops of rainfall here and there. Another low pressure system has cleared through southeastern Australia. We've got some strong winds this morning through the Bass Strait, 65 kilometres an hour on the Spirit of Tasmania moving into Devonport this morning, 58 kilometres an hour at Mount Cyclone Island onto the southern coast of Tasmania. Again, these aren't severe conditions and definitely not by any metric for Tasmania. That's definitely not severe. That's just regular winter's day, but it gives you the picture that there is definitely some turbulent weather on the forecast. You can see two large weather systems moving into the Great Australian Bight at this point in time. We are expecting some significant weather to move into Tasmania. So let's move on into the forecast part of this update here and take a look at the weather that we're expecting in our future. Foggy start across New South Wales, but without any further sidetracks, let's get stuck straight into things. So like I said, winds coming out of the southwest throughout the remainder of today and into tonight through Tasmania. They'll shift to the northwest later tonight, and we're expecting a cold front to approach from the west. That's that strong system we were just talking about. They'll collide later tonight into early tomorrow morning with the South Australia and the Victorian coastline as well. A couple of drops of rainfall expected as far north as Ceduna, with between 2 to 5 millimetres through the Eyre Peninsula into early tomorrow morning. 5 to 10 millimetres expected across the southeast coast of South Australia, including about 10 millimetres expected for Adelaide and the Adelaide Hills. Up to about 6 or 7 millimetres expected for the western coast of Victoria. A pretty specific number, but we're not expecting too much in the way of rainfall there. It is, of course, the west coast of Tasmania that's really going to pick up the heavy rainfall accumulations, expecting some isolated pockets of heavy rainfall through early tomorrow morning. It could be as high as 50 millimetres across parts of the west coast, with snow falling as low as about 900 metres into the afternoon hours. We're looking at this frontal system moving through in the morning hours. It should clear by around lunchtime, and we'll see some showers coming out of the west later on, but the winds aren't going to turn around to the southwest, which means more weather systems are on the forecast later on, especially for Tasmania. If you have an eagle eye as well, you'll notice rainfall up into the northeast of New South Wales coming through Thursday and Friday, tomorrow and Friday. I'll get to this at the end of the forecast update, so stay tuned for that. So Friday remaining clear for the most part. Showers and storms will return again through Saturday morning, and we're expecting another strong cold front to come through Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon for the South Australia, Victoria, and especially the Tasmanian coastline. Again, a couple of drops of rainfall here and there for the South Australian coastline. Same deal with Victoria. Nothing severe is anticipated, but again, more rainfall expected through Saturday morning and into Saturday afternoon for the west coast of Tasmania, especially into the southwest wilderness, and a vigorous westerly airflow coming through Saturday night into Sunday morning. Severe weather expected for the west coast of Tasmania. Snow down to about 600 metres, could even get a little bit lower than that, with some wet snow accumulations expected down as far down as about 200 or 300 metres into the southwest wilderness region through early Sunday morning. It will be cold, it will be windy, it will be severe. Definitely some significant severe weather conditions expected, but you'll notice again the winds still refusing to swing out of the southwest, and that is another factor at play here. Because of the way that the frontal system's moving through, they're diving down to the south. They come up into the Great Australian Bight and they come up quite far up, but then they kind of parallel the Australian coastline, especially through the remainder of this week and into this coming weekend. They'll be paralleling the Australian coastline and shoveling themselves down south into the Southern Ocean by the time they get towards Tasmania. The conditions actually remain a little bit warmer through New South Wales, Victoria and South Australia, so for the most part we're not expecting too much in the way of rainfall. Definitely no snowfall below about 1600 metres through either New South Wales or Victoria. No snowfall, of course, expected for South Australia. That goes without saying, but it looks like conditions are going to remain a little bit more milder and even tending towards subtropical into the northeast corner of the state. Again, I'll get to that at the later part of this forecast update. Sunday and Monday looking to be dry and warm. Actually, we're looking at a large high pressure system building into the Tasman Sea. You know what that means though when we see big time high pressure ridges build there. They are followed by some pretty significant severe weather from these cold fronts here. A massive low pressure system forecast get itself going into the Southern Ocean by the 22nd of July. A pressure of 947 millibars. That is an intense system, and that is going to drag in a whole lot of severe winter weather conditions behind it. Strong cold front coming through on the 22nd to the 23rd. The details still a little bit murky on this system here, but then another low pressure system kind of churning up from the south. And this was on yesterday's forecast, but I didn't take a look at it in great detail because I didn't exactly trust the information that was coming out here. But it looks like after about the 25th of July into the last couple of days of the month, we're going to see this low pressure system, or a complex series of low pressure systems, develop over Tasmania, some in the Great Australian Bight, some in the Tasman Sea, kind of combining into one large low pressure system, which is going to swing around from the southern parts of the Tasman Sea and then impact Tasmania directly south of it. It's going to be one of those weird tracks. Instead of coming out of the west, it's going to come down from the Tasman Sea and swing around on itself. It's something that we see a couple of times a year, and trust me, we can get some pretty significant severe weather conditions out of it. Mainly the cold air is what's going to be swinging up out of the backside of the system here. Very cold air, snowfall, rainfall, strong winds, you name it, coming out of the southwest. It's definitely a bit of a concern if it does come into fruition. Again, I would like to take it with a heavy pinch of salt because the forecast is just brand new on this system here. It definitely means some severe weather into the backside of July, but like I said, we're just going to have to wait and see exactly what is anticipated at this point in time. At this point in time, though, definitely expect some severe weather across the west coast of Tasmania, but also in towards southeastern Australia in general. 14-day rainfall accumulation still looking very healthy for South Australia, Victoria, and the west coast of Tasmania especially. Falls between 50 to 100 millimetres expected through parts of the southeast corner of South Australia, 20 to 40 millimetres through parts of the Eyre Peninsula, could be as high as 50 millimetres around Port Lincoln and Streaky Bay. Falls up to 100 millimetres, also possible around Adelaide, up to about 40 millimetres forecast for Melbourne and Geelong. Rainfall accumulations will be higher into the high country of Victoria and New South Wales, but again, rainfall is a little bit of a wild card beyond about the 25th of July at this point in time, just with this complex series of low pressure systems that are going to get themselves set up either in the Tasman Sea or the Great Australian Bight, of which we are expecting severe weather, but we're not exactly sure in which direction it's going to be coming from or exactly how bad it's going to be. I would just like to leave this for another couple of days before I can make a proper forecast on this that I'm happy with and that I can say with a high degree of certainty is going to happen. West coast of Tasmania running away with some pretty significant rainfall accumulation. Need I say why that is? Plenty of fronts coming through there, and we're looking at least 250 millimetres for some locations there. Now, the snowfall forecast is another interesting aspect of the forecast. Like I said, with those winds that are going to be coming out of the north for much of the forecast period, especially over the next 10 days for New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia, temperatures are going to be a little bit more milder. And that's why over the next 10 days, we're only looking at a couple of centimetres of snow at the absolute heaviest. In fact, 2 centimetres outside of Omeo and Falls Creek here in Victoria, and just a dusting or two over in the New South Wales high country there, where Tasmania is actually getting significant snowfall accumulations, 20 to 30 centimetres, and going right down to some lower elevations as well, in fact right down onto the coastline into the southwest wilderness region. The reason for that is of course that warm air being dragged down from the north, and that's why Tasmania, in the grips of this winter weather here, runs away with the snowfall accumulations by a very significant margin compared to what Victoria and New South Wales are expecting. And that's why it is, even though we're looking at severe weather for Tasmania, the southeast is going to remain a little bit calmer over the next 9 or 10 days or so. Winds are also a little bit tamer across the west coast of Tasmania. We're looking at wind gusts up to around the 130 kilometre an hour mark, could even push up to around 140. That's strong winds for anywhere but the west coast of Tasmania. That's business as usual at this time of the year. And winds between 80 to 100 kilometres an hour expected as a maximum, most likely coming through this weekend for the South Australia coastline and also for the Victorian western coastline as well. In fact, it's going to be Western Australia that's going to be in the grips of some more severe weather over the course of this weekend, especially a big low pressure system coming through on a Saturday and Sunday, well, building on Saturday and then coming through on a Sunday. This one does have a few interesting aspects to it. The GFS forecast is calling for one massive extratropical cyclone to develop south of Western Australia, and we're expecting a pretty intense storm pressure to develop out of this. I mean, take a look at this, 964 millibars, not that far south of Albany, probably about 500 kilometres south, which puts Albany and much of the southwest of WA well below 1,000 hectopascals in pressure. That only happens once every couple of years, and that is generally a pretty severe storm for the southwest corners of WA. It definitely means some cold air coming around on the western side of the system here, strong winds, rainfall, you expect that sort of stuff with this type of system. But there is some discrepancies between the forecast modelling. Whilst the ECMWF is now starting to come on board with what the GFS forecast has to say, here at least on the forecast, and we're starting to get a little bit more congruency, there are still a few discrepancies between the forecast models, which is making me scratch my head a little bit at the forecast. It's definitely making the Bureau of Meteorology scratch their head as well. They're calling for between, I think it was 5 to 35 millimetres of rainfall coming through this weekend, and at this point it's like, come on guys, are we expecting a few light showers? We're expecting it to bucket down over the southwest, so they're really not sure either, and you can't really blame them at this point in time. There are still some discrepancies, but without any further ado, the forecast itself, we're expecting a low pressure system to slowly develop through Saturday and then in towards Sunday morning, sliding down just southwest of WA actually, and then into the Southern Ocean through Sunday afternoon and evening, dragging in the moisture band ahead of the frontal system here, and we're expecting some heavy rainfall to begin developing from Sunday afternoon across the southwest Capes, moving into Sunday evening and Sunday night through the Perth metro area. And when I say heavy, I mean we're expecting a very significant rain band to come through, which is going to have rates between 30 to 50 millimetres an hour. And have a look at it as well, it's not a small system. It in fact stretches through much of the wheat belt through Sunday night and into Monday morning. Plenty of showers also expected onto the western side of the system here as this low pressure system races down into the Great Australian Bight. We're expecting a vigorous polar air mass to swing up through Monday morning. Whilst it will be a short-lived polar air mass, we're not expecting it to hang around for more than about 24 hours or so. We're definitely going to see some heavier showers out of it through the south coastal regions, right across through Esperance and then out towards Israelite Bay. Even Perth could be seeing some pretty significant showers out of it. Then Monday afternoon and evening, we've got one of those fronts that comes out of the south on the backside of these systems here. These are the ones that can pack a real big punch in terms of winds. We've got this on the forecast here. It's this kind of darkening band of rainfall on the map here. Now, at this point in time, it doesn't look that severe on the forecast modelling, and you'd be right in thinking that that's just not a concern and barely enough to make a cut for these videos here. But I do reckon Monday night into Tuesday morning, we'll get some pretty gnarly severe weather, especially in the form of damaging to locally destructive winds and potentially small hailstones and heavy rainfall through Monday night into early Tuesday morning for the southwest corner of WA. More rainfall and snowfall coming through from that vigorous air mass that's going to build in the wake of that second system through Tuesday and Wednesday, and that will continue the showery flow in towards the southwest through Wednesday, Thursday, easing off by Friday by the looks of things. But in short, next week expected to be very turbulent, that's for sure. Another strong low pressure system coming through after about the 27th of July. Details on that still a little bit murky, but with this violent swing in the southern annular mode by the looks of things after about the 20th of July, we're expecting about 10 or 11 days of some pretty significant severe weather conditions across the southwest of WA, and certainly something to be monitoring quite closely at this point in time. Rainfall accumulation is looking very healthy. I mean, need I say why that is? We've got plenty of weather systems coming through. The south coastal regions are looking at least 200 millimetres for parts over the next 14 days. The majority of that coming through Sunday night into Monday morning, then again Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, and then again Sunday and Monday, the 27th and 28th of July, respectively. Those are the 5 or 6 wettest days of the next 2-week period that we're expecting. Same deal up into the Perth metro area, falls between 100 to 150 millimetres, could be as high as 200 millimetres into the Darling Ranges and the Perth Hills outside of Perth, falls up to 100 millimetres expected as far north as Geraldton, then falls between 20 to 40 millimetres expected through a wide swathe of the wheat belt, peaking at about 50 to 60 millimetres into the York and the Beverley sort of area, up around 50 millimetres for Narrogin, Katanning and Mount Barker as well. Good rainfall accumulations expected through those areas. And snowfall is expected on the Stirling Ranges, not forecast, expected. We're expecting in the wake of this system here through Monday morning, and then again Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and then potentially Saturday night into Sunday morning on the 26th and the 27th of July, respectively. Snowfall is a possibility through the Stirling Ranges and potentially even the Parongrub Ranges, especially Tuesday night into Wednesday morning on the 22nd and the 23rd. We've been saying this for the last couple of days, and again, I would just like to say, take this forecast with a heavy pinch of salt. We're not looking at 7 centimetres of snow coming through Denmark and Walpole, but it does give you the idea that conditions are going to be favourable for some snowfall accumulations of about 600 or 700 metres, which encompasses a lot of the Stirling Ranges and also parts of the Parongrub Ranges. And even if it makes itself as far north as Mount Cook, we might even be seeing some snow on the Darling Ranges as well. That's a very rare occurrence, documented only 3 times since white settlement across the southwest of WA. And we'll be looking at potentially up to a centimetre or 2 through the Bluff Knoll area as well. So if you're really brave, get yourself down there, but there are some extreme risks when we're talking about hiking and snow, and it's going to be alpine weather conditions up there, so expect blizzard conditions as well. Definitely doing it navigate at your own risk and make sure you heed all the warnings and advices out there with this snowfall. I absolutely do not recommend it at all, but it is your best chance to see snow in southwest and Western Australia potentially this year. There is a very good chance, probably about a 70 or 80% chance of it occurring on Bluff Knoll over the next 14 days, with about a 60% chance of occurring Tuesday night into Wednesday morning alone. So definitely some good news there for some snow chasers across the southwest, but I would just like to say take the rest of this forecast, or this snow forecast from the Eastern Loop with a very heavy pinch of salt. We're not talking about snowfall out in this great sandy desert south of Warburton. That's just not going to happen, or snowfall making it out towards Menzies, Leonora or Laverton. It's just laughable some of the numbers that this model can come up with, especially on the snowfall side of things, but again, it does a good job most of the time, and that's why I use it in these forecast updates. As promised, southeast Queensland showers coming through tomorrow night, actually into Friday morning. We're expecting a bit of rainfall to develop and potentially a convective thunderstorm or two across interior parts of central Queensland. Complex low pressure system expected to get itself set up, and then we might see another low pressure system set itself up offshore from the Queensland coastline. A bit of a convergence zone possible through early Friday morning into early Friday afternoon, and that could lead to some few heavier showers and bands of rainfall moving through into southeast Queensland or the northeast of New South Wales, like I said, Thursday afternoon into Friday morning. Rainfall accumulations are going to be few and far between, especially when they're heavy. We're not expecting widespread falls above 50 millimetres, but some isolated pockets into the northeast of New South Wales or around Toowoomba, Warwick or Wollongara could be up around that 50 to 60 millimetre mark, and some falls between 20 to 40 millimetres are also possible into the interior parts of Queensland at around Charleville, Augathella, Injune or Roma. That's a bit of a change from the frosty weather that they've been having for the last month or so, but again, showers and thunderstorms are a possibility at this time of the year. They're a possibility at all times of the year across Queensland. Rainfall will then return from showers coming through out of the southeast on Sunday and Monday the 20th and 21st of July, and a few showers are also expected much later on into the forecast period. In fact, we might even see a rain band developing, feeding into a low pressure system into the Tasman Sea between the 24th out to the 26th or the 27th of July. But all of that is going to add up to some relatively significant, especially for this time of the year, rainfall accumulations across southeast and south central Queensland. On this forecast here, falls up to 100 millimetres are a possibility, and I do not doubt that we might be seeing pockets of south central Queensland or the northeast of New South Wales looking at 100 to 150 millimetres of rainfall over the next 3 weeks or so. As we're definitely looking at a pretty wet period, but for the most part, rainfall accumulations, especially tomorrow night into Friday morning, will be few and far between. The best chance of rainfall is going to be through the northeast of New South Wales and parts of southeast Queensland, and we're going to have to wait for a morning's forecast update to get a hold of the convective forecast models to see exactly what rainfall we're looking at down there. They're going to be a big help in kind of saying exactly what rainfall we're looking at, though we might be seeing a rainfall band develop somewhere across the southeast coast or into the northeast coast of New South Wales. Again, we'll be watching it like a hawk throughout the course of today, and I'll have some more information on this weather event as it comes out. But on that note, that's going to have to do it for today's forecast update. There's still plenty happening around Australia, so the weather scene is it's definitely not quiet across the southern parts of the nation, with plenty of winter storms still to come through. If you have enjoyed this forecast update or found it informative, preferably both, then please do consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already as well. The support lately has been much appreciated, and the support in general is also much appreciated. And speaking of support, a special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now. Without them, I would not be making this video, so their support is also very much appreciated. But that is going to do it for me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.